What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and it's time for our updated New Year's 6 bowl predictions. Yesterday, I did my playoff predictions. You can go back and watch that if you missed it. And then, of course, we got the new playoff rankings last night, which one thing in those rankings definitely does affect my New Year's 6 predictions. So I'm glad I waited until after the new rankings came out, because there were a couple of things that really changed maybe how I thought things would go. One involving Iowa State, one involving Indiana, one involving maybe Coastal Carolina. So there were some things that were a little bit different than I expected from these last rankings. And so that, again, is going to affect my predictions for the New Year's 6. So let's get right into it. We're going to briefly go through the playoff games because they are part of the New Year's 6. But again, I went through exactly why I think it's going to go that way and everything in yesterday's playoff prediction video. Alabama, Notre Dame. So I was very close to making a switch here and putting Ohio State at number 4. If they do not get to play in the Big Ten Championship, which I still think they're going to change the rules for the Buckeyes, but if they don't have that game and Notre Dame plays Clemson close, Notre Dame is not going to drop to 4. We're going to see a Clemson-Notre Dame rematch, or really going to see them play for the third time if that happens. If Ohio State does get to go to the Big Ten Championship and they're really impressive in that game, I think the Buckeyes would maybe go to number 3. Notre Dame, if they lose, slips to 4, and we get Alabama versus Notre Dame. So waiting to see what's going to happen with that. Again, this could easily be Alabama versus Ohio State, or maybe Notre Dame beats Clemson and another team gets in here. Maybe it's Texas A&M. Maybe it's Iowa State. Committee loves Iowa State, as we saw last night. And then the other semifinal for me right now is Clemson versus Ohio State. But again, this could definitely change depending on what they decide to do with the Big Ten Championship game. Does it really matter that much when it comes down to the opponent, whether it's Northwestern, Wisconsin, Iowa? I don't know that that really matters too much, but I think it does matter a little bit to have that label of being the Big Ten champion. Conference champions do matter. They're not everything, but they do matter some. So that'll be very interesting. But if Clemson does beat Notre Dame, they're going to go to number 2. So I think this is how it's going to shake out for the playoff game. So now we get into the New Year's 6 bowls. And we start with the Orange Bowl. I've got Miami versus Texas A&M. The Orange Bowl has to take an ACC team, and it has to take either a Big Ten or SEC team. And I believe, I was looking this up, I believe they would take the highest ranked SEC team or Big Ten team, whatever. So that's why I did have Florida in this spot, but I still think Texas A&M is going to stay ahead of Florida. There was some questions. Maybe Florida could jump them, but then if Florida loses to Alabama, I guess it's possible if Florida is really, really close against Alabama and they say, well, look, Florida almost beat Alabama, Texas A&M lost by 4 touchdowns. Maybe Florida could move up. But as long as A&M stays ahead of the Gators, they're going to go to the Orange Bowl, and I don't really see any other team that they would play besides Miami. Miami is going to be the highest-ranked ACC team unless they lose to North Carolina. Then we could see North Carolina, a 3-loss team, in a New Year's 6 bowl here in the Orange Bowl. So that's a big game coming up. I don't know for sure if North Carolina would jump all the way up ahead of Miami. I think they would, though. When you look at where these two teams are ranked, there's not a huge gap. Miami is currently at number 10. North Carolina is at number 17. And if North Carolina has a head-to-head victory, we could see the Tar Heels in the Orange Bowl. And that would be, I think, great news for North Carolina fans. They had the potential this year to have a special season. I still believe that. But things just did not go their way in a couple of games. Virginia and Florida State, both games that they should not have lost. And if they were sitting there with one loss right now, they would absolutely be in this discussion. You would have them as a front runner for a New Year's 6 bowl. But if they beat Miami, they can salvage that. They can maybe get to this Orange Bowl, which again would be a very successful year in my opinion. And then A&M again, I think will be the highest ranked team in the SEC. They don't play this weekend, so you're looking at a game, I guess, just against Tennessee. That's all they have to do is beat the Vols. That's going to happen. Let's go to the Peach Bowl now. I've not made a change here. We've got Georgia. I think they're going to be ranked high enough. It's hard to see anyone passing them, given where they're ranked now. They're at number 9. Could a team like Coastal Carolina or a team, let's say Indiana wins the Big Ten Championship, could they pass Georgia? That would be something very interesting. I don't think Georgia is guaranteed a spot right now, but things are looking really good for the Bulldogs. And then on the other side, you've got Cincinnati. If they take care of business in the American Championship game against Tulsa, they will be here. They will be in one of these bowl games. It may not be the Peach Bowl, but there are no rules for the Peach Bowl. They just can take whoever they want, or the committee, I should say, will match the teams up however they want in these other bowl games. So Cincinnati, I think, is still going to be that highest Group of 5 champion. I don't know if Coastal Carolina can do enough to pass them. I mean, they're 5 spots behind. They've got Louisiana left in the Sun Belt Championship game. Also, they've got Troy this weekend, which could be a little bit tricky. But if they win these 2 games and then Cincinnati beats Tulsa, I don't know if there's enough there where Coastal Carolina could jump Cincinnati. But it's possible if they're really impressive. And if Cincinnati barely squeaks by against Tulsa, and we see some of Cincinnati's opponents struggle, like some of the teams that they've built their resume with, like Memphis and UCF, if we see some of those teams start to struggle and lose games in this final week, maybe there's a path for Coastal Carolina to be that top Group of 5 champion. But there is actually another path for Coastal Carolina that could get them in, and we could see both Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina in a New Year's Six Bowl. It'll be tough. It's probably not going to happen, but it could happen. But again, here we go. Peach Bowl, Georgia versus Cincinnati. In the Fiesta Bowl, Iowa State versus USC. I'm still predicting Oklahoma to win the rematch with the Cyclones, but I do think Iowa State will be there with just 2 losses. I think that'll be their 3rd loss, and I think they'll be ranked high enough. You look at where the committee has them right now, they're all the way up at number 7. I think not only does that keep that guarantee Cincinnati's not going to make the playoff, and I think it makes it really tough for Coastal Carolina to get in the New Year's Six, because when they're all the way up at number 7, a loss to a top 10 team in Oklahoma, who will be a top 10 team probably after that win, they're not going to drop much at all, and I think that makes it tough for Coastal Carolina. If Iowa State was a little bit lower, I think there would be a really good chance that Coastal Carolina could pass them if they do lose to Oklahoma. So that the committee putting Iowa State at 7 does 2 things to hurt the Group of 5. It keeps Cincinnati out of the playoff. They have no chance. And then it also keeps Coastal Carolina more than likely out of the New Year's Six. So 2 big blows for the Group of 5 based on that Iowa State ranking. And I don't know, maybe there was some politics going on here. I really don't know. It did seem odd. I think most people thought it was odd that Iowa State jumped up to number 7, especially when they have a loss to Louisiana, who, like I said last night, Louisiana beat Iowa State. Coastal Carolina beat Louisiana. Those are common opponents, and apparently they don't matter at all, even though Coastal Carolina is undefeated and Iowa State has 2 losses. So, again, I think that there's a chance the committee could say, well, look, Iowa State's lost 3 games. Coastal Carolina beat a team that beat them. Maybe if Oklahoma beat them convincingly, Coastal Carolina could jump up enough to pass Iowa State. But I don't think a team should really drop for losing on championship Saturday, or at least they should not fall behind a team that does not play at all. So I guess it would be okay. Coastal Carolina is going to play a game probably against Louisiana again, or that may already be locked up. So another chance, so they could have 2 wins over the team that beat Iowa State. Would it not be absurd to have Iowa State ranked ahead of Coastal Carolina in that scenario, especially if Iowa State loses to Oklahoma? That is just something we'll have to keep an eye on and see what the committee does. And then I think USC is going to win the Pac-12. I've got them here in the Fiesta Bowl. This will, to me, looks like the best team in that conference, and they're playing really, really well right now. So I think this is the Fiesta Bowl matchup we see. Again, possibly, if things go right, Coastal Carolina could be in here instead of Iowa State. And then we have the Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma versus Florida. Now, I think if Oklahoma loses to Iowa State again, then I think that's going to open the door up for Coastal Carolina to make it into a New Year's Six Bowl, or perhaps Indiana. Maybe it's Indiana that gets in there, especially if they can win the Big Ten championship. Well, they will be in if they win the Big Ten championship. But right now, I still think they're going to change the rules for Ohio State. But Oklahoma, I think if they win the Big 12, they're going to land here in the Cotton Bowl, and they will play Florida. And this is a game that I want to see. 2 high-powered offenses, 2 teams that are playing really well down the stretch. I would love to see this matchup. I think it would be the most exciting, the best game out of the New Year's Six. And if it works out this way, hopefully we will get to see Oklahoma versus Florida in the Cotton Bowl. So again, the teams that have a chance to get in that I didn't mention in this video: Indiana, especially if they go on and have a chance to win the Big Ten championship, if they get to play in the Big Ten championship and they win that game, they'll be in. So Indiana has a chance. If, let's say, Oklahoma loses to West Virginia this weekend, and then Iowa State wins the Big 12. Oklahoma will be out, so you'd have a spot there potentially for a team like Indiana. Coastal Carolina, we talked about what they would probably need to have happen. Northwestern still has a chance to win the Big Ten. Obviously, you have other teams that are still alive in the Pac-12. Those are the teams that I think could maybe sneak in here. And again, North Carolina, if they beat Miami, could be that ACC team. So definitely some drama for the New Year's Six Bowls. I think the playoff is pretty much set. Maybe we get an upset or something happens, but I think the drama really lies with the New Year's Six Bowls. And it's going to be really exciting to see how these final games go and who makes it into the New Year's Six Bowl. So I'd love to know your predictions, your thoughts on this. Leave your comments down below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.